Hi everyone, this should be a quick tutorial on how to use Creo mechanism. Make a new assembly like you would with any other assembly. You assemble a part and you make that the default piece, so I'll use the base for my sewer platform. Again, here instead of automatic, just go to default like you start any mechanism or any assembly. Now I can start assembling my little pivot rods. Now, if you remember from the design, these only move in one plane. So I'm going to make it a pin joint. So usually how you can make a pin joint is you could, make a axis coincident with another axis and then like constrain one of the planes so it can't rotate. Instead of using these, we're going to go over to here and pick one of these. So let's pick a pin joint. Now here it's already going to tell me what I need to align. So first I need an axis, which I built into my part. You're going to have to do that when you make your own mechanisms. And then I'll align it with another axis. Yay. Now, to have a pin joint, it needs to be constrained in translation. Plane to plane generally works pretty well. In this case, I just happen to have points, so I'll pick a point on my default assembly and a point here. Also, for some reason your point is inside the little drag handle, just double click on it and it'll select the point in the middle. Cool, now I have a piece that could rotate just like if I had a normal assembly and didn't fully constrain everything. You do want to use mechanism connections, because if you don't, your mechanism won't regenerate properly if you just use the normal connections. So do use mechanism connections for non-fully constrained parts. So let's assemble the rest of this. It's pretty straightforward. Just gonna do this with every single one of them. Might want to call that a pin joint. Maybe I'll align it to this axis. Sweet. Okay, now what you can do is go into Applications, Mechanism. You can see you got these little orange things here that indicate, there's a mechanism connection. From there you can click Drag Components. Really cool. Another thing you can do with Drag Components is arrow down the screenshot thing, go to Constraints, and here I have this thing called Motion Axis Constraint. So I'll do that, click on here, and it says it's at 40 degrees. Maybe I'll change that to 0. If I want, I can go back to the definition of that actuator. And here there's a constraint by the rotation axis. So I need to define some sort of reference for it. So here maybe I want my angle to be referenced from here to this plane. And so now it's saying, look, I'm at 90, not that I'm at 0. So I can actually change the current position here. I can give it limits, which is nice if I want to, say that, oh, this arm's only going to be, rotate so much. You can do that. Set that back to 90. Here when I made my top part, I used ball joints, so I want to open that up real quick so you can see it. So here for the last point over here, to assemble a ball joint, maybe I want to get my normal rod like I usually do, and here I just select ball. That needs a point-to-point alignment. So I'll do a point here, drag that around. This is my default piece in the case. In this case, you can see all the little ball joints that I'm free to drag around. Aha, I did not make that default. Maybe that's why I was getting errors thrown. Okay, now for some reason when I just try to assemble each of the points individually, or each of the rods individually in Creo mechanism, it would not load. So I actually made a top half and a bottom half, and then assembled them together in this file. Now, a lot of times with the sewer platform in particular, problem with one of the last ball joints connecting. So again, I can re-show how to do that. There you go. So first I can just assemble this. This bottom one is assembled as default. But even though it is default, it still has all the mechanism constraints. Here I limited them by like 15 degrees. And then I can assemble the top. Just add ball joints everywhere. I want to make sure I can see the actual points. Open up placement. Make a new set. Automatically has ball. New set. Let's see if it did assemble. Oh no, you see here I have that problem back here. And I really don't know how to fix that. Like sometimes I just have to remake the assembly and sometimes the last one works. What's weird is that if I go back to the connection right there, it knows that there's a ball joint there. It's right here, it's just not enabled. Hit enabled, it appears. I go back here and it disappears. So I really don't know what's going on there, but I can still drag it around. I can move each of these individually. Inside mechanism, which I'm in, I can add like servo motors, so maybe I can add like a motor here on this joint, give it a profile, maybe tell it to maintain a velocity. It's in degrees per second, so maybe I want it to be at like 60. You can go, this is going to be interesting. You can go to mechanism analysis. You can do a position analysis. So here, it'll just run that motor, see what the position is. See, it's breaking because it knows that other thing's not working. I know that. Let me close this. Let me open one that I know is working. Actually, manage file. Erase not displayed. I never saved my other one, so I don't want it to open up my broken one. I want it to open up my good one. Okay, so now that I'm back in mechanism, again, I can add a servo here. Tell it to have a constant velocity. I don't know which way it's servoing, whatever. So it's going to be funny because I'm going to tell it to do it. Let's do position first. You see, it got to the end of the movement, so it was just like, screw you. 4% completed that fast. Maybe I want to change this to like 0.5 degrees per second. There you go, so for 1 second to move that much. Now another fun thing I can do is maybe I'll do a dynamic analysis. For 1 second, motors, turn off this motor. And then I'm going to enable gravity, and it's just going to fall down. There we go. Is this all in 1 second? Wow, hell broke loose. That was for a second, so make sure you hit OK and it will save it, and then you go to playback. Hit this little thing up here. This has a low frame rate, so that's what it does in 1 second with gravity. It thinks this is 200 pounds right here, so that's why it did that. And then it's even cooler, as you go to measures, you can add different stuff. So a very useful one is connection reaction, and you click one of your mechanism connections. Um, click on the analysis, and that's how many is that newtons? No, it's always make your assemblies in metric, because none of the fucking units in a standard makes sense. Another useful one is going to be net load, and you can apply that to a servo, and it'll give you a torque. This is a unit of torque. I didn't know that. Again, do everything in metric, and it'll give you something that makes sense, like Newton meters. Not computed. What is this? Oh, right, because there was no servo on. Yeah, well, again, start playing around with it. That's really just the basics. Ask me any questions. Oh, wait, I wanted to go. If you want to add a cam, you go over here and you click on cams. The way I constrained it is I had the cam underneath here, so I make that my first surface. And then it wants a front and back reference. I really don't know what it means, but by me selecting the point here and the point here, so I use this one as the front and this one as the back, it was happy. And then for cam 2, yeah, it doesn't, I don't know why it needs all this, but should be enough for that. And then for cam 2, I selected the circle. I selected my actual cam. For that, I actually needed to select all the way around it. It's pretty straightforward.